Oh, really? Yeah. You take one of these, I got some actually.
对呀，我们对工作一向很认真，真的，我们对得起，我们对得起，对得起，看得起看我，谁都对得起。对。
Who's that?
I wanted to hand these out. This is the lawsuit.
You met up getting on.
Our messages.
1919. Okay.
My boys are here because they play in this playground area every single day, and they came with their friends to not support the bike lane. They all ride their bikes. They ride their bikes through here all the time. There's never any danger. There's never any problem. But the same breath, they also get to play their frisbee. They get to play baseball. And they have a great time out here. And I think putting a bike lane right through here is just going to change all of that. Change the spirit in which our kids can play. And our dogs can run. So they're here to support.
Hi there. So are you the kids' area resident?
Yes, I am.
Very kind of you.
Oh, dear.
What's your name?
My name is Debbie Horner.
Spell it.
H-O-R-N-E-R.
How long have you lived here?
20 years.
So for you, what do you think of this?
I think that it's really silly to put a bike path right through here. My children are here. They grew up in this area. They played in the leaves when they were 18 months old. They learned how to walk on this grass. And they're here with their friends today to support not having a bike lane through Paradise, where they play frisbee, where they play baseball, where they chase each other. They play tag with glow sticks at night with, on sleepovers. Things like that. They can't do that if they have to worry about somebody barreling through on a bike. And where they're planning on putting it is silly. It's ill-conceived, and I don't think not thought through properly.
Oh yeah, because there's a bike path just over there.
Yes, absolutely, and a little bit of paint, and having it designated, one side for pedestrians, one side for bikes. No reason why they can't do that.
Can you call your boys over?
Absolutely, boys.
Come here.
Thank you.
Sorry, your turn.
Sorry.
Hi, how old are you? What's your name?
I'm Ben Hone.
Last name, spell it.
Hone, H-O-N-E.
You?
I'm Stephen Horner.
Stephen Horner with a V or PH?
PH.
Alex Horner, we're twins.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so why are you guys here today?
Well, we grown up playing on these parks, and we haven't really known anything about the park. No one's ever told us, but my mom brought us out here, and yeah.
How old are you?
14.
So, a 14-year-old, you got a lot to say on your signs.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about them if they do this?
Well, they haven't told us anything about it, and it's right where kids play. It's not really. I don't think
hazardous.
Yeah.
And there's just for you, like.
Yeah, well, we play on these parks every day, and there's bike lanes both sides of this park. It doesn't really seem right, especially when they rush it in without telling us.
How about for you?
Personally, I don't really live here, but these two are really close friends of mine, so I come here, we practice sports. Every time I'm here, we just come out, and I just feel like if there's a bike lane straight through it, it'd be more dangerous than it would be safe, because with tons of kids, there's playground, it's going to cause more damage to them than maybe one or two bike crashes on the smaller pavement over by the side.
So is this a hot topic in your school?
Yeah, well, everybody's kind of talking about it, but we don't really know anything about it. No one, the government hasn't really told us much about it. It's...
Thanks, boys.
Let's start the press conference now, okay?
Debbie Horner.
D-E-B-B-I-E.
Okay, we're going to get started. Good morning, I'm Tina Oliver.
Yeah, CBC should be. Wait, yeah, all set. Is it okay?
Thank you. Are you ready? How's that? Good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us today. We're not here about bike lanes, we're here about protecting a park that has a restrictive covenant on it. We're going to introduce you in a moment to the legal counsel who filed in the BC Supreme Court, Mr. Bob Kasting, and Megan Carvell Davis, who is the petitioner on this file. Mr. Harvey Hadden gave this park to the City of Vancouver in 1928 with some very specific guidelines as to its use, and that is to keep it as natural as possible and in pristine order. Putting a 12-foot wide asphalt bike lane through here is probably not what he wanted. So I'm going to bring Mr. Kasting forward right now to talk to you about the legal issue that was filed in the Supreme Court this morning.
I think Tina gave us a really good background. The Hadden Park, as you probably know, goes from the street end of Maple there to the street end of Chestnut over there, and it goes from Ogden Avenue to the beach. And it was given in it was bought in 1928 by Mr. Hadden. It was bought and given to the city with a very specific trust that it be kept in its natural state. Now, the decision by, first of all, the city and the park board to move the bike lane, the Greenway bike lane from Ogden, which is right over there, into the middle of the park, we felt was a violation of that trust agreement the city entered into when they were donated the property. So my client, Megan Carvell Davis, who knows more about this park than probably anyone, and has done the research on it going back to 1928 and before that, decided that we would, her and I decided that what we would do is we would try to hold the city to account, to abide by their obligations as a trustee to the people of Vancouver with respect to the Hadden Trust. So what we did on Monday is we filed a petition with the Supreme Court of British Columbia. That was, we then got an order that a hearing be heard this coming Tuesday to prevent the city, by way of an injunction, from paving this strip in the park. I spoke to the city lawyers yesterday, and after we had a discussion, we agreed that they would, by consent, agree to the injunction, that they wouldn't construct the bicycle path until the courts have decided whether it's legal to put a bicycle path in the middle of the park or not. And that's a hearing that's going to be heard sometime in the future, maybe as early as January, maybe as late as June, but it's something that's going to be decided by the courts if it can't be sorted out before that by the City of Vancouver and their lawyers. So that's a summary of where it is from a legal point of view. We got the consent order. In other words, the city agreed to our getting an injunction against them. That was obtained, signed by a judge this morning, and is in effect. So until things have been resolved, or until there's a judicial decision otherwise, the park remains as a park and doesn't have a paved bicycle path going through.
Yay! So, thank you. I'd like to introduce Megan Carvell Davis, the petitioner on this file. Thank you, Megan.
Hi. I just want to tell you a little bit about Harvey Hadden, because he's the man who gave this land to all of you to be kept in its natural state and condition. Mr. Hadden was a land speculator from England. He lived in Nottingham. He first came here in 1889, and he bought land that time. He loved Vancouver. He ended up building an estate where the Kitsilano golf course is now. And it was in the forest, completely hidden. It was a huge estate with buildings and rose gardens and brooks, and it was incredible. In 1913, the value of land was going down, so he sold all his property except for his estate, and he went back to England, and then there was the First World War. He didn't come back to Vancouver again until 1928, when he was about, I think he was 77. And he said to his friend, Mr. Evely, who had been his architect during all his land speculation days, he said, "What can I do for the City of Vancouver, because the City of Vancouver has been really good to me?" And he said, "The park board is trying to get all the waterfront land from Stanley Park out to UBC to have as public parks for the people of this city." And so he sat down with the chair of the park board and they talked over a number of ways he could support the city, and he ended up agreeing to buying these 2 waterfront lots and giving them to the city. But he was very firm in what he wanted. His deed was very specific. It had terms and conditions. It had 4 covenants. The park board agreed to them and the city agreed to them, both in resolutions. And the city's resolution was certified and placed with the deed to Hadden Park and the map it was based on in the Land Title Office in New Westminster. I've been going to the park board since 2004 with that deed, letting them know that this 2 blocks was Hadden Park because they thought it was part of Vanier Park, trying to get them to read the deed. I've sat through meetings with COPE-dominated park boards, NPA-dominated park boards, and now Vision-dominated park boards. The first time that they actually stopped and were willing to listen was when we put a lawsuit in.
When, where?
The first time that they listened, the park board and the city listened, was when we put the application for an injunction for the paved bicycle path to go through Hadden Park. Although I must say that the first time I got empathy for my concerns was from Vision commissioners. But
hold it, hang on a second. Why don't you just that's right. Landing strip out there, and I'll be able to land on pretty soon.
Okay.
You can step a little closer to the microphone.
So I said the first time that the city and the park board have stopped and communicated back about the Hadden Trust was when I applied through Bob for the injunction against the paved bike path going through Hadden Park, because the park board had approved it and it was going ahead, and in order to stop it, that's the only thing we could do. But I wanted to say that I have received empathy for the first time from Vision commissioners. There's a few commissioners who've listened and they've read it and they've talked to me about it, but it hasn't been a high priority. But since they now want to put the paved bike path through, it's top of their priority list. So I'm just thrilled, and I know Mr. Hadden is thrilled as well. And a man who wanted to leave a little piece of the natural world of the BC West Coast. These little sandy beaches, you can see them all the way up the coast and on the island. There'd be forests and cliffs, and then there'd be a little sandy beach. This is what this was when Hadden gave it. And we want to take it back for you guys, for us, for everybody. Yay.
So did anyone from the Hadden family raise this concern, or have they tried to have some legal actions before?
No, Hadden died in 1931. He had a daughter that I couldn't track down and a son who died without any children or marriage. So I couldn't track down any Hadden family. I did try.
There is an interesting historical footnote. When the Maritime Museum, or actually when the St. Roch was being beached on the beach, the executors for the Hadden estate wrote a letter and said, you can't do that. And the city said, yes, we can, and we will anyway.
What year was that? I know.
1958.
Excuse me. What about the dog beach? You spoke to me once about the dog beach. Would you like to refer to that?
Today we're just talking about Hadden Park and the restricted covenant that's on. Well, that's actually the beach, which is owned by the province.
No.
Lady.
No, that Hadden Park goes from Ogden Avenue to the harbor headline. Hadden gave the land to the city up to the high water mark. He had riparian rights from the high water mark to the low water mark. And the park board asked the city in 1935 to ask the province for a provincial crown grant of the beds of the foreshore and water lots out to the harbor headline. And the provincial government gave that grant. Actually, the city ended up asking for it for municipal purposes. The provincial government said, this is only for park purposes. Be attached to Hadden Park. which the park board did. But what the suit we're talking about now is about the paved bike path. That's what we're concentrating on, and that's what we want to focus this conversation on.
Where is it proposed to run through? Right where we are? Like right here, just meters away?
Right where we're standing.
Right where you're standing. You're in the way, actually.
You're actually in the way. Where's your helmet?
I'm going to get hit by a bike. So how do you feel with the bike path already being there?
The bike path is actually on Ogden, right behind you.
But I see bikes even going on there. So what do you think? Any comment from you?
Gentle riding.
Gentle riding, and that is actually the Seaside Greenway right there on Ogden. Like, what is that? 20 feet away.
So we're talking 3 bike paths?
Well, we're not going to let that third one come through.
Yeah, did they say they would be getting rid of any other
this,
thing?
This is not supposed to be a bike path. It's supposed to be a pedestrian path. It was put there, approved by Mr. Hadden. A little path along the top of the sea cliff so that people could look out over the ocean.
Megan, can you introduce this woman here, please? Just with respect to having a donated bench.
Oh my goodness.
Your first name is?
Sure. One of the issues that is arising with the approved bike path through here is the removal of some of these memorial benches that have been dedicated by citizens for their loved ones. And I'd like to introduce Mrs. Zibin here, who will talk to you about that, because her bench is being affected.
I discovered just after Thanksgiving that my husband's memorial bench, sorry, I still get upset about it, was right in the middle of the bike path and would be moved. Now, we have to, the citizens of Vancouver, if you want a memorial bench, you have to pay for it, and you pay the Parks Board, and you have a contract for 10 years for that bench to be in that location. I only found out by accident because a friend told me to go and see where the bike path has been outlined, and my late husband's bench sat right in the middle of the bike path. That was just after Thanksgiving. I had not received any notification. I emailed all the commissioners, Parks Board commissioners. I got a reply saying they'd look into it, and I still haven't heard anything. And I'm quite willing to show you where the bench is if anyone wants to follow me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. I'd like to introduce. Thank you so much, Mrs. I'd like to introduce Howard Kelsey, who's been a proponent also for Kit's Beach, and for 40 years a user of this beach, and specifically of the basketball courts just around the corner from here. Howard, please.
Sure. Thanks, everybody. First of all, congratulations, Bob and Megan. As you know, I was one of the people that stood up in the beginning. There's now literally thousands of us. The original reason was because they wanted to take out the 23 spots on the parking lot, and then I saw the route. This is just an example of when you make a bad decision. Our stance is that lawsuits or bad karma, etc., tend to pop up when our civic leaders do not do proper due diligence or try to ram ill-advised initiatives through without proper planning or proper consultation. It's very similar to an election that was held in the Middle East, where they released the election results the day before the election. And we are on this beach. We're not just showing up here today in the bandwagon. We've been here all our lives. Jim Clive with with volleyball. Where's Don Shaw? He's with volleyball, with tennis. We just donated the tennis courts and the basketball courts since 2007 in the palm trees. There's Don Shaw with the tennis. And we represent 3,000 recreational sports users. Basketball in my case, tennis in Don's, and volleyball in Jim Clive's. And then if Adam Smith can stand up, he's representing the Kids Points residents because Lynn Kent is not here. George Puel, who you know is a long-time civic leader, lives across the street, as does Lynn Kent, and we're just people that are concerned. Are there any questions towards myself? Yes, sir.
Does this injunction stop the bidding process for the request for proposals?
The best of my knowledge,
no, it doesn't. It stops the shovels in the ground. It doesn't stop the planning. But of course, we like to think that once the planning is done and they realize that the planning includes the Hadden Trust, that they'll look for someplace else, like perhaps actually on the street where it is, to put bicycles.
So they could still go ahead over here at Kitts Beach Park if they...
We haven't prevented anything happening other than on Hadden Park.
Yeah.
So whatever happens at Kitts Beach, hopefully is part of those larger discussions which they're going to have with their advisory group.
Okay.
Do you have any concern about your financial resources to keep going on?
Mine?
Or
No.
Not yourself?
No.
Okay, so where did the money come from?
Well, I can't answer that. I'm a lawyer. I'm not allowed to tell you that.
Okay. All right.
Not pro bono, though.
I can't tell you that either.
I can address the advisory committee because I'm on it.
Yeah.
So I want to do that.
I was actually going to ask about the
Yeah.
advisory committee. What happened?
I'm happy to address that. To date, myself and Chip Wilson are the only two people officially appointed. I was the first one requested by Constant Barnes. You might have to check the date, but I think it was October the 8th. And I conditionally accepted on the conditions of A, that the advisory committee was legit. Who are the people on the committee? Do I have the right to appoint or recommend people to the committee? The person choosing the committee, to the best of my knowledge, is Malcolm Bromley, the general manager of the Park Board. Any questions about the committee? Yes, sir.
Does the terms of reference of the committee cover Hadden Park?
The terms of reference cover everything to do with this proposed bike lane. And back to the gentleman that asked about the RFP, I'm on the record of sending a memo the day I was appointed that no RFPs or any decision should have gone forward until we met. Unfortunately, they said they already sent out the RFP 3 days before I was appointed. But I do have the memo, and I am on the record, because I don't believe that the taxpayers should be paying for an independent consulting group to tell us where it should go, when if people like myself, Chip Wilson, and any other leaders of the community were astute enough, we would be able to save you all the money and just use common sense, which is basically what's galvanizing our community, because this is a common sense issue. This is not a bike lane issue.
So if you've got some questions for either Mr. Kasting or Ms. Carvell Davis, we could address those now, please.
Probably just get you separately.
Okay. Here we go. Stay flat. If you happen to have any questions about either the legal process, you can talk to me, or about the actual history of Hadden Park and the Hadden Trust. Megan is your expert.
Can we chat with you first? Sure. Would that be all right? Right.
Where's it?
This is Chris. I'm Jen. We're with Level. I have to go live in a few minutes. Actually, I was going to ask you, would you Bob Robert? We could chat. Would you chat with us live? Would you guys want to do that? In 10 minutes. Literally in 10 minutes.
Sure. No, better, because I've got something else.
Okay, excellent. All right, let's do this.
Just step to me, Jen. I'm just trying to get a better back.
Okay, make sure you look as beautiful as possible. Well, there might be a tree going in.
It's, we're in the shade, and that's all.
You don't want that?
No, I couldn't see you guys. You were silhouettes.
All right. What is your name, first of all?
Megan Carvell Davis.
What is your main concern?
My main concern is that the city and the park holders abide by the Hadden Park. It's a little and they need to abide by the trust. When they ask what do I want to see in Hadden Park, I say abide by the trust. I'm a citizen. I'm not going to tell the park board what they should do. But Mr. Hadden gave this land, and he did tell them what to do.
And I know what he said, but I'll get you to say it. What were his wishes?
I can't quote them because I don't have them in front of me, but basically the terms of his deed were that the park was to be used as a public park and the beach for bathing for everybody, but more especially for women and children forever. And then he wrote 4 covenants that he included. One was that it be managed by the park board or some succeeding body. One was that it be a park forever and used for no other purpose whatsoever. Another was that it be left in its natural state and condition. And the last one was that development, whatever development is going to be happening in the park, safety and enjoyment of the people, it be done within a year. And so he actually provided money for landscaping and he approved their plans.
So he did approve that pathway.
He did. It was a little pathway. It's gotten wider over the years and someone paved it. But what he did, he saw that park as similar to some park in England where you could walk along the cliff and look out at the ocean. And that's what he did for the whole 2 blocks here. You were able to do that when he gave it.
Lastly, I wanted to ask you, what would you think, as you mentioned this, what is Mr. Hadden thinking once he got this order today?
I think he's saying, thank goodness that somebody stood up for me and what I wanted. I think he's saying that, and I'm doing it because my dad was very much like Mr. Hadden, and so I'm doing it for my dad, who is a lover of the natural world, and Mr. Hadden, who also really valued the natural world.
Wonderful capital being burned up, and we don't know.
Let's just say that they don't have to declare campaign in between campaign funds in the middle of election. That's the problem.
But, you know, I can't imagine who is behind it.
Behind what?
Behind the bike lane coming through here. A large amount of political capital is being burned up by the Vision politicians, and for no apparent reason. They're spending money and they're not achieving anything. In fact, they're destroying a perfectly good, usable green space that, as we can see over here, is used by all sorts of people for all sorts of free play games all the time.
And press conferences.
And and other little gatherings too, wedding pictures and the whole bit. And if you cut this green space in half, there won't be enough play area on either side to be usable.
Got it.
And they haven't done any proper planning studies, including what spaces are proper and appropriate to leave between the various users. Any proper planning and competent planning process would have analyzed how much green space was being taken up, how much space was being interfered with in terms of other users, and it would have been in the report. They would have had areas of buffer zones, areas where they had to put safety barriers up. And this is done in any other planning process. So there is no planning done. This was somebody drew a line on the CAD drawings and told the engineer or the draftsman to put it on there in that location. And we need to find out who's behind that.
I'm a little surprised. What? What am I doing?
I don't know what you're doing.
I'm behind the camera. I'm not in front of it. But it's recorded for posterity. He's doing an interview.
Okay, let's just do this. What are you doing now?
Okay, I'm walking in Hadden Park right now. Right here, through here, is where the path is proposed. But it looks like it's not going to happen because of the court injunction. Yes, sir.